Hi, I'm Jared.
And I'm Brad.
And this week on Hood Slappers, we're going to be reviewing the 2022 Kia EV6.
Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Pay attention to any news in the automotive world and you'll know one thing to be sure. The automotive world is going electric.
I see you've been practicing, Brad, but consider this. According to CAA, there are over 33 available electric vehicles for Canadians to purchase. And when you add all the different trim levels, that jumps to 80.
That's right, Jared. The automotive world is going electric, but the key word there is going electric.
What chord are you playing there, Brad?
R.
R? R what?
R flat, major?
Yeah, something flat.
Yeah, something like that.
According to Stats Canada, in 2022, only 2% of vehicles sold were EV vehicles. And out of those 2%, 2/3 were sold in only 3 major Canadian cities: Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal.
Go back to 2021 and the numbers are similar. 1.7 million diesel and gasoline vehicles were sold as opposed to only 37,000 EV vehicles.
And although the future is electric, the EV still has 4 big problems for the average consumer.
The EV isn't quite accessible to the masses yet, and that's because of 4 things. 1, they're not as cheap as gas-powered vehicles. 2, they don't go as far as gas-powered vehicles. 3, the time it takes to charge is way more than it is to fill up a tank of gas. And 4, EVs struggle in winter.
And that brings us to the 2022 Kia EV6, Kia's latest offering in the electric world.
And we want to know, what does the EV6 bring to the electric market, and how does it address the 4 big problems standing in the way of keeping electric vehicles from being more accessible?
On the outside, the EV6 offers a futuristic take on the crossover vehicle, embracing Kia's new design philosophy of opposites united. Sleek and subtle in the front, the EV6 gives you 19-inch alloy wheels with a long and contoured silhouette on the side, giving way to a swept-back tailgate. Much like myself, it looks athletic and refreshing.
Inside, you are treated to a layout that reduces the clutter by offering you a high-end, minimalist look. The giant instrument and infotainment display immediately gives you widescreen digital instruments with great graphics that flow seamlessly into the central infotainment display. Below that is the EV6 Central Control Service. It acts as a 2-in-1 deal, where you click the button to adjust climate controls and click again to adjust stereo settings.
The interior space makes you feel like you're riding in the lap of luxury, and its minimalist style is sure to impress the tech-savvy drivers among us, while the fewer buttons and controls mean more space for the dashboard styling to shine.
In terms of safety, rear cross-traffic collision avoidance assist and surround view monitors all come standard with the EV6, with lane keep assist and forward collision avoidance assist as upgrade options.
This is a beautiful car and brings a level of luxury to the EV world. But is that enough to appeal to the masses?
Well, let's take a look at the way the EV6 addresses the 4 big problems of the electric vehicle world: price, range, charge, and winter.
Let's talk about price. The reality for the electric vehicle today is that most people either can't afford or don't want to pay for the luxury of an electric vehicle. For example, the Tesla Y in Canada is roughly $85,000, where the average vehicle sold in Canada is somewhere around $45,000. That's almost double, or in our terms, the difference between my salary and Brad's.
Wait a minute, anywho, what about the Kia EV6? Well, it has a starting price of $44,995, and that makes it eligible for federal discounts in most countries, which means you might actually pay less for the Kia EV6 than you would the average car.
But Brad, that's for the base price. If you want longer range, that's going to cost $53,000. If you want all-wheel drive, that's $55,000. If you want some of the features of this GT package here, that's $58,000, and the level above this is $62,000. Now we're $15,000 above what the average Canadian wants to spend.
The EV6 is certainly a step in the right direction, and in terms of affordability, it can be done if you're willing to settle for a little less, but for many people, this may still feel a bit out of reach.
And what about range? This seems to be the biggest concern for EV drivers. They want to know if they can go as far on one charge as they can on one full tank of gas.
Now, if your vehicle was made within the last decade
or century in Brad's case,
Right. If your vehicle was made recently, then you know a full tank of gas gets you about 500 to 700 kilometers on a highway, 400 to 500 in the city. Now, the higher end electric vehicles are starting to compete with those numbers, but what about the EV6?
Here, the EV6 definitely makes electric more possible. Sure, it doesn't have the same range as a Tesla Y, but it outcompetes most of its competitors like the ID.4, the Mach-E, the Kona, and of course, the Ioniq 5. Now, the entry level comes a bit short with a range of 373 kilometers, but if you go with the all-wheel drive long range, that's going to give you 441 kilometers. But if you want even more than that, the rear-wheel drive long range will give you a very impressive 499 kilometers, and that is on par with a tank of gas.
Charge time. The reality is nobody wants to sit around for a whole bunch of time at a supercharged station on the side of a highway at a rest stop while they watch gas-powered cars come and go. The reality is, if electric is the future, then charge times have to improve.
And that's where the EV6 really shines. Yes, if you want to charge it at home, it's going to take all night, but who cares? Plug it in to your level 2 charger, go to bed, and it's going to be ready for you in the morning. What EV drivers want to know, how will this affect them on a road trip? Well, the good news is you can obviously plug this into any level 3 charger, oftentimes found at rest stops on the side of the road. And in just 5 minutes, you can achieve 120 kilometers of range. You can go from 10% to 80% in just 18 minutes. And that's about as long as it takes Brad to pee at a rest stop anyway.
Whoa, 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 that's only when other people are around.
What about that time in Cucamonga?
Well, you said you wouldn't bring that up.
All right, all right.
But let's put this into perspective, Jared. You're coming home from some big event, running a triathlon, let's say, and you're not sure you can quite make it home. A 5-minute stop gets you an extra 120 kilometers. Or if you want to go up to an 80% charge, it only takes 18 minutes. I mean, that's less time than it takes you to order at Bob Evans.
But that's okay, they'll leave the light on for you. Winter isn't just a challenge for you or I, it's also a challenge for the electric vehicle, because when it's cold, you use more heat, and that takes away from some of your battery's power. And nobody wants to be caught with no charge on a cold day.
But the EV6 has an answer for that as well. You see, it uses an eco-friendly heat pump to recycle heat given off the car to optimize the temperature around the battery pack. And that means more winter range.
And that's going to recoup about 19% of your battery's longevity. Now, this certainly looks like a step in the right direction to make electric vehicles more accessible to the public. But let's see how it drives. Well, Brad, here we are in the EV6, and I think this kind of strikes off all the EVs in this segment of vehicle.
Absolutely.
I think so. But
Yep.
what are your what's first impressions on the inside on here we are while we drive?
Yeah, my first impression, Jared, is I don't like it. 'Cause I love it.
That's
All right, Jared, I love it. This is the interior I've been waiting for. Similar to the Ioniq 5,
It
but
is, yeah.
I think even better.
I think so, and it caters to the driver a lot, because here I have my little center console here, and this reminds me of, and I've said this Star Trek thing before.
You have.
But this is the most like that, you know, the Captain Picard, Captain Kirk sort of thing here. So that would make you like, I don't know, Yeoman Rand or one of my helpers that brings me my coffee. That kind of thing. Because I got everything here. I can I could just, not that I'm going to, but I can just touch this power on, power off button. And just, oh man, this is so cool.
Are you shooting things now from your car here? Listen,
See, that would be the add everything to cars. That's one thing.
That's the next. That is the future. Now you can shoot
lasers.
Shoot lasers. But this really does. You've talked about the Star Trek thing before because you're one of those guys. But this one actually feels like the most legit. Like it's floating there.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool. Now, there are no real buttons, but we do have knobs. You mentioned before we have this knob here, which we can change from a volume knob to changing the temperature in the car. But I don't know. I'm a button guy, but this doesn't bother me because it still has a pretty good layout there. And my heated seats, those are buttons, and they're just at my fingertips here. So I don't know. I think it's a nicely put together interior. You said similar to the Ioniq 5. The interesting thing, Brad, about EV cars is there's nothing that's so outrageous that vehicles are doing that kind of separates them. To me, they all do a lot of the same things. It comes down to styling.
Agreed.
And I think the interior of this is one of the best out there. The exterior looks nice, but I don't know, maybe there's another one I prefer, but this interior is dynamite.
I 100% agree with you. It's all aesthetic, what you ultimately want. They all doing similar stuff, similar price, except for, you know, you get into Tesla, that's more.
Yeah.
Which is a great point as well. Why are people still buying Teslas when there's all these options out there for a good 20 grand less? I don't get it, but hey, that's the thing.
It's one of the mysteries of life.
It's one of the mysteries of life. But this, yeah, they're all fairly similar, but I think interior-wise, I think this is my favorite. Exterior, I really like the Ioniq 5.
Yeah?
I think I like the look of it a little bit better, but once I got inside, yeah, this feels more like a car, you know?
Yeah. No, this is very nice. Now, Brad, I was reading an article in my off time, as I normally do, the bookworm that I am.
Was this one of your comic books again?
No,
or?
this was after that. I finished that one up.
Like it wasn't just pictures, it was words?
Anyway, the article says that the average Canadian drives 35 kilometers a day.
Huh.
And in rural Canada, it's 45 kilometers a day. So when talking about range anxiety, I think that kind of gives us a better picture. Because we're all talking about, it only goes this far, it only goes this far. But that's these imaginary trips that you're planning in your head that honestly you'll probably never take, if you ask me.
Yes.
Yeah, well, what if I go to, to Gusagalpa? What if I drive down there one day? You know what I mean? Who's doing that? You're driving your 35 kilometers on average, or 45 if you're rural. And this car, again, we talked about the max range is 499. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about it because if we drive that every day, that's pretty low. You don't need to worry. You don't need range anxiety. No. The only time that we talked about is like this summer. Remember when I pulled in behind you on the highway? We were both up in Sudbury there?
Right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
What is that? One time a year, probably, you're going to drive past your 400 kilometer sort of.
It's quite possible.
Range.
It's quite possible. And you know what? You can't blame the cars. I would say blame more the charging stations, because a lot of them are not maybe well maintained or not always active. So it's not the car's fault, but some of these charge stations are not up to par or up to speed.
Right. So what you're saying is range anxiety it's overblown. There shouldn't be a thing.
I think it's a myth.
It's a myth.
I think it's something that was created by the non-electric world to throw people off the electric car. Now, Brad, we do like the car. We love the car. As you said, you love this car.
Love it.
But we have to be partial. We have to be professional.
Absolutely.
And we have to critique something in the vehicle. Brad, fire away.
All right, it's hard really to find something, but I got two quick things. Both of us are button people. I like, they've cleaned up the look, all that stuff, less clutter. There's still two buttons. Make them a little bigger.
All right.
Okay,
all right,
that's one. The second is this, and I read this online, and now that I see it, it makes sense. Some people were saying the USB ports are a little too close to the ground, and that really does ring true. Like, this is a stretch and a reach for me to get to these two USB ports. If I'm charging my phone, now mind you, I got the wireless charger right here.
This is true.
So, but if I'm plugging in, I don't know, something, but I mean, those are so minor.
Yeah,
right?
There's not much there. If I had to critique, I was personally, I was excited to get into this car because the last Kia we reviewed, I think, was the Sportage.
Right.
To me, that had the most comfortable headrests I've ever felt in a car. These, on the other hand,
yeah, you know what? Now
Kia,
that you mention it,
they're not as comfortable as the Sportage.
No.
But that's, again, if that's all I got to complain about, then that's hardly anything.
Hardly anything.
I complain about Brad more than I complain about the EV6. Well, my question is, you have motorcycles who hang out at the local coffee shops, okay?
Yes, seen that.
You have classic cars that will hang out at the local A&W.
Yeah, why A&W?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But where is the local gathering for EV cars? Where do they hang out?
Oh.
That's what I want to know. That's the question our viewers need to know. Where do you see a lineup of these things, besides waiting for the next charger to be available at the side of the road?
No, they probably hang out at the charging stations. You know, you got 18 minutes to get up to 80%, and you're probably out there talking with the other folks.
See, that alone would deter me from buying an electric car. Because you know you're going to get that guy. What do you get, the long range there?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. You think there's a pecking order among them?
Long range all-wheel drive is king. You go with a shorter range rear-wheel drive.
Right.
You're looked down upon.
Now, there's one thing we have yet to do here that needs to be done. This thing's got power.
Yes, it does. So,
So,
with that, you can get up to, I think the maximum horsepower on the fastest EV6 is, I think, 576
that's a lot of
horsepower. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot of name.
Yes. Yes.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a spot, and I'm going to go from 0 to 60 in sport mode to see how this thing takes off.
Kids, don't try this at home. This is a professional here doing this. Well,
Just want to see how. Okay, put your head forward, Brad.
okay.
I want to see how
Okay, hold
well
on,
this
I wanna-
keeps your head back.
All
Ready?
right, you ready?
Okay, ready.
Yep.
Here we go. Whoa! Attention alert, and there's 100. That was a pretty
Okay.
good kick.
That was a pretty good kick.
That was a very good kick.
Now, in terms of, I will say this. In terms of electric vehicles we've tried, the Tesla still has the biggest kick.
It does, but this I say would be number 2.
This would be number 2. I would
Yes.
agree. That was good.
It was very good. Well done, Kia.
Wow.
The proof is
Wow.
in the pudding.
That. Well, folks, there you have it. The EV6 is a stunning, futuristic-looking car armed with all the luxuries we expect from our vehicles today, and it brings us one step closer to an electric future. Its price is closer to average, its range is impressive, its charge time is lightning fast, and winters are less of a worry. It might not be the car that brings us to an electric future, but it moves the dial one step closer. And with that, I give the all-new 2022 Kia EV6 my hood slap of approval.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you again next time. A huge thank you to our friends at Waterloo Kia for letting us use this beautiful Kia EV6. If you want to order one yourself, give them a call. You can locate them at 583 Colby Drive in Waterloo, Ontario.